Be good to go. Good morning. Happy New Year. I hope you guys all slept well. Today, we're modeling characters, and I'm excited to be back. I had a good break. I hope everyone else did as well. And before I forget, I think the plan, the New Year's plan, a New Year's resolution, one might even say, the goal today, or just in general moving forward, is I'm going to try and stream for smaller amounts of time, but more often. So I'm going to do about this time for about 2 hours every day of the week. So that's the goal. That's the goal. We'll see how long that lasts. But today we're modeling characters. Specifically, I need a I don't want to call them placeholder, but I need a stand-in character for both kind of the default character and also for the spirit form character, as well as a character that is supposed to be the thing that runs around the map, kind of hides from everybody. So we'll figure it out one step at a time and just get started on the process today. Oh, that's good. It's just water. It's lightly flavored water. All right, so first thing first, we'll call this body, and we'll label it as 00, just in case anything goes wrong. And good morning slash good evening to whoever's popped in there. I hope you had a good New Year and welcome back. Data underscore body 00. We've returned after a break here. It's been a while, but everything has sort of leveled out and gotten back to normal. I wasn't going to do it this way, but I'm actually going to create a little bit of a reference for myself. So let me grab across all the stuff on my desk here. Um, Plug in my tablet real quick. I think this will actually go quite well if I draw myself a little reference first. Use the right end of my tablet. I also have a glove as well. I should have been more prepared today. Eh. Happy New Year's! Happy New Year's indeed. I hope you had a good time. You do anything exciting? Let's go to object mode and we'll make a new grease pencil and we'll just do a blank grease pencil. I should, if we go into the grease pencil, we can draw. Hopefully everything. Oh, that is so, you probably can't see that at all. That is dark on dark. I know I can go into one of these guys. Viewport. Is this the one? Yeah, perfect. It's still dark as can be, though. I haven't used grease pencil in a while, so I'm not. There we go. Nice dark black ink. Perfect. So yes, I'm going to make a little bit of a reference for myself. We're going to make two different characters. And I think the first one is we'll make sort of a generic human character. I know I make all of my characters to be about 2 heads tall, and I think that probably my inside view good. I think that um probably just thinking as I go along, thinking out loud and messing with all my tools because nothing seems to be in the right place. Yeah, so I'm thinking they probably will need to be, as far as the style of the game goes, maybe a little bit, almost chibi-like. I don't really like chibi characters. I like to avoid them sort of wherever possible, um, which is always possible. But we'll see. We'll see sort of where we're at. And this is just a general guide in Grease Pencil. So one of the nice things about Blender, if you don't know, is there's this tool called Grease Pencil. And what it lets you do is it lets you just draw within the program. You can do a lot more than that, believe it or not. But I think for the moment, just using it as like a sketching tool works great. And the other part is that this exists now in 3D. So like this drawing, I can move around it in a 3D sort of environment. So the nice thing is whatever I draw, I can kind of model and draw at the same time and figure stuff out as I move along here. Um, so this, I think, is where we're going to start, and I can sort of move these proportions around. Cannot sculpt while animation's playing. Animation shouldn't be playing. There we go. As we can start to play around with these proportions, and you can also use all of these sculpting tools. So everything you can do in Blender that involves sculpting, you can also use those same tools to make characters and stuff, which is really, really, really cool. So I think as I go around here, let's take just a bunch of this stuff. Let's give them kind of a big head, a little bit of a big head. And then give them a smaller body, sort of reposition it, something like this. Grab the hips in here. We'll give them kind of effeminate hips, I think, just for the time being. Hello, welcome. Hope everyone had a good New Year's. Hope everyone's doing okay. Oof. Question is, how did I learn Blender and how did I remember to do everything? Or just how do you remember everything that you can do in Blender? Because there is a lot. And the answer is that like a lot of it just comes down to I mean as far as remembering, a lot of it is like repetition and stuff. But I first learned Blender and I first started learning Blender just a really, really, really long time ago. And I learned it like online and through books and just sort of one step at a time. There wasn't really a like I never took a class on it. I never oh no, don't no do should be an eraser which is a soft eraser. Yeah, there we go. That might be a bit too much. Sort of blot this down. Yeah, but I never took a class on it or anything. I never there wasn't really there isn't I don't know that there is any kind of formal education for Blender or anything like that. I think it's something that you sort of pick up and move along with as you go. Um, but just every time there's something new, you go through, learn, like read the patch notes, learn about whatever it is that's going on, that's the new thing. Just sort of be interested in it as a program. It can get you pretty far. Do 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 do. Let me actually. Where is that? Like one, two, three, four, five down. So one, two, three, four, five. About where the arm is. Something sort of like that. I can look through and then also see like one of the cool things I can do, and I don't want to put quite this much effort into it, is, but I can draw like a line like from here to here. And that didn't land where I needed it to, but I can move it sort of up and into position. Um, Something sort of like this. So it's not like a perfect jawline, but I can kind of emulate how one is supposed to be, which is pretty neat. So that when I go back into modeling, I'm not having to deal with the discrepancies. So whenever you're modeling specifically off of like a drawn image, there tends to be a lot of discrepancies between even images as part of the turnaround, but also parts of the processes you're trying to like figure out and say like, okay, how is this supposed to look from the front versus how is this supposed to look from the side? So the ability to go in and draw a line and have that line more closely represent whatever it is you're trying to do is a pretty cool and nifty little thing. if I wanted to get like really crazy with it, I could draw like sort of an eye line like this. And that's going to be way down towards the bottom, in not particularly a useful space. But again, these are things that I can move up, about where they're supposed to go, somewhere right in here. And now I've got that like sort of classic eye line you see in sketchbooks and drawing, but it exists in 3D, so I can know like, okay, there's a mass and volume to the head. Again, not stuff that you're necessarily supposed to be doing with this. When I say supposed to, I mean like because you can get so complicated with it, there's not really often a need to get that complicated with it. Just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you should. And I need that lesson more than a lot of people. Uh, is gonna be a beefcake at this rate. No, I need to make that much smaller. Yeah, something in here, something like this. Um, Other little things I'll do too is take bits which are supposed to be representative of some part of the anatomy, and I'll tilt them. So as a general note, I'll make like the outline, scale it that way, scale it that way. Um, so now I just have oh my goodness, a line that's much more aligned with sort of the natural angle of the rib cage, just for clarity for myself later. Um, as a fun note, in most people, for the size of most people, your hips or the base of your hips, right at the very top of your inner thighs, is actually halfway between your total height and the base of your feet. So this is right where your the bottom of your pelvis is. So here we've got like a hilariously huge head. I guess it's not hilariously huge. I did mention just sort of like an almost chibi-like quality to it. I don't want to do like the anime eyes. I don't want to do all of that. But just as far as stuff is concerned, um, here we have the two squares. I don't know if you can see the two big squares and like the divisions between those lines. We've got the two big squares, so the top half of the body is still like proportionate to the bottom half of the body. It's just that the head would only take up about a quarter of it, and here it's taking up maybe more than a third. So it's a very large head. And then the whole reason why I brought that up is because if I start imagining what the arms would look like, one of the things about proportion and anatomy for arms is that your elbow comes down to just about the base of wherever your ribs are. So if this is where my shoulder connects at this point right here, and this is how long my ribs are, then I need to make sure that, like, just sort of going in a circle, somewhere in this area is about where my elbow would need to be in order to keep proportions for a character. Which, as kind of an art rant for you, um, it's crazy how often there's like it's crazy how often there's this stress of like everything needs to like look really good. Like, oh, we need to make sure that we draw everything correctly. We need to make sure that things look good because we've drawn them well. And that's not really the full story. That's a little inaccurate to say that like the drawing well is the only part of it, because that is definitely true. But usually, the biggest defining factor of what makes something look good or not good is if the proportions of the thing have been well thought out, right? So you can have someone with a big head. People have big heads. We recognize things with big heads. Children have huge heads. Like proportionately, a child's head is massive in comparison to the rest of its body. Um, which coincidentally is also why we associate chibi styles and stuff with like cutesy things, is because it is a childlike in its um, proportions. But like this arm right here, for example, this arm is just a bit too lanky. Like if it were to swing down, which I think I can actually do this to illustrate here. Whoop, whoop. Oh, I didn't mean to do it that way. There, like this. And I think if I do I have a 3D cursor still? I do, right. So I'm gonna put the 3D cursor over where the shoulder socket is. And so I can actually rotate these bits now to see how far down they would come. So the shoulder's doing, or the elbow's a bit long. It's a bit longer than it should. It should be brought up a little bit. And the arm, your wrist, comes down to that halfway point. So right somewhere in here, where your pelvis, the bottom of your pelvis is. So whenever you see a character that's drawn and they don't like look very well drawn. It's assuming they were supposed to be like a normal average character. It's probably more that the proportions are messed up in some way than it wasn't drawn well. Um, if you draw something well but have bad proportions, it's going to look much worse than something that's drawn poorly but has good proportions. Does that make sense? But funnily enough, by doing this, I can see that I've made everything just a bit too long here. So I can go back in and I can be like, no, no, let's make this a little bit different here. So yeah, somewhere in about here, upper arm, boom, here, lower arm, and then kind of the boom, boom, boom for the hand. It's a huge hand. Still a bit long. I made this too long, and I'm just gonna move it up here. Shroop, something like that. The other nice thing about being able to do these edits like this is I can like work on angles and how things are supposed to be. Like I can even come up here. So if I know this is like part of my head, and this is sort of the top view of my head, I can also move those things around to so there's a whole debate and case to be made about how arms should be modeled. I'm of the camp that arms should be modeled such that they are uh, relaxed. Um, I know there's a lot of like action games that will do it so that the arms are straight out in T pose. And there's a reason for it is that whenever you model something in T pose, it does make a lot of the rigging process a lot easier. It also can help a lot with like stretching in the armpit area. But I also feel that models just end up looking weird and stiff and unnatural when you do it that way. So here, by doing this, we can sort of angle it so that the arm is coming out like an angle, like just if you're trying to like, eh, right? Um, the hand will need to be like a full thing, but we'll worry about that in a minute. Other stuff is actually if I pull all of this, click, 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 click. All of that should just be to the side more. I'm going to rotate it ever so slightly out. We've got a nice wide kind of stance to it. I guess if I were trying to do it very technically, I would do it like this, and then I would take all of these upper bits up here. Grab that, and then twist that out. Something like that. But I want to redraw that just a little bit. All right. What's next here? No, no. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Um, because I was using the eraser a little bit here, I'm gonna go back in and do so just a little bit more. Um, that way it's not overpowering. I could adjust this somewhere else, but this works fine. So this is going to be our little reference for our character that we're going to make here. And we'll call that G Pen sort of scale reference. Doesn't really matter what we name it because we're not going to use it. I'll plug my tablet and move it out of the way here. Perfect. Alrighty, let's start modeling some stuff. Do. Perfect. Get in, add in a. Oh, they changed. So I'm using Blender 4.0 now, which I was on like 3 point whatever it was. And they changed the way this rollout menu happens, and I absolutely hate it. It is a terrible downgrade, and it bothers me infinitely. It used to pop out into this big screen, and you could just see everything all at once and just click the thing you needed. And now you've got to like go in and do fiddly things. It drives me nuts. Okay, so we've got this, that over there. And we're just going to start making kind of a 3D model of a humanoid, and that's the task and goal for this evening. You get to see sort of the process by which I model things. Let me also go in, and for now, I will make sure that this object is in front of everything else so I can see it at all times. Perfect. So the way I like to model things is I like to use 8s generally whenever I can. Rings of 8, things like that. And also is I'll lay out all of my supercritical loops first. So take this here, and I'll move this over to, I need to turn on clipping there. Perfect. So here I've got a loop, and then I'm going to bring this over to here, this over to here, and then this around in the back like such. So now I've got this loop that it's going to extend around across sort of the chest clavicle area here. This is going to be sort of my first, oh, let me turn this back up to here. This is going to be sort of one of my first loops, and it's going to go around through probably the upper back just a little bit like such. Boom, boom, boom. Perfect. So this is going to be one of my first loops in the body here. I'm going to have some other loop that extends along and goes up like this over the shoulder. So I'll go ahead and get that guy all squared away. Something like this. And doing this is just very, very like low polygon, low sort of time investment. I can make big sweeping changes to anything I want, which is what you want at a point like this. So that's going to happen like that. Down here, there's going to be kind of a weird loop. So let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There should be 6, 7, and 8. Like that, because that's my preferred way of doing it. I actually did a whole video about modeling in 8s and just how it makes it real nice and easy to keep things organized and close them off if you do so. Do it that way. So this set of vertices here, and let me make sure I turn statistics on so I can see what I'm doing, should be 8 vertices. Oh, and I selected an extra one. Oops. So perfect. 8 vertices. That means it goes in a nice, neat little circle that we can control here. And these would probably be brought up and stuff, but we can add more detail to that later. This, however, I need to know how many this is, and this is where there's going to be problems. It is also 8, which is good. So we'll pull this down like this for now. We'll do the same on the front side, like such. So on the topic of like staying organized, and this is just general topology stuff, is this vertex here already is a pole. It's P-O-L-E, and poles, in case you don't know, work like this. Normally, here's a good example. Normally, whenever you've got a vertex, that vertex is shared across four faces. And that makes sense for our brains whenever we're modeling in quads. So I've got one, two, three, four squares that all share this one same point, right? What you'll notice if I pull over to here, though, is that boop, boop, there, oop, is that here I've got this one point, and this actually has even more than that. So I've got one, two, three, four, five squares that all share the same point. Poles are good. Poles are really important in poly modeling, which is what I'm doing right now. Um, but you should never have more than I feel five faces for a single pole like this. And you should never have less than three. You can't have less than three. But basically, because I have a pole here, and I need to start extending the body downward over here, uh, it's really important that I make sure that I don't pull vertices off of this and I skip one basically in any direction in order to start pulling out additional faces. The reason why I bring all that up is because this here is going to be another pole. Let me orient it a little bit here. Boop, boop. So we fill that in and then you'll see what I'm talking about. So here I have another pole, which has got, again, five faces attached to it. One, two, three, four, and five. But it's important that these are at least separated, right? I could have done it in such a way where these are all joined into this single point up here, but that creates really messy models, and you want to avoid stuff like that wherever you can. So always offset your poles by at least one, and that will ensure that you never have any kind of crazy like six poles or anything weird going on that you're not supposed to. And we'll close that up. Boop, boop. And we'll close this up as well. Boop and boop. Now we've got the beginnings of kind of a torso. I could go ahead. Um, this is not quite. I'm going to add in a little extra detail here that I don't need to be adding in right now, but I'm going to for the sake of my own brain sanity. Boop, boop. Um, so this would be an example of a three pole, right? Where here I've also got three squares and they're all attached to a single point, which is just this one right here. Happy New Year! Blair, I love that name. Hope you're having a good time. Hope the New Year's been good to you. Anything fun happened for New Year's for you? Or for Christmas? Did anyone have anything fun for Christmas? Fun Christmassy news? Yeah, and I'll address this more as we go along. I'm assuming you mean how did I close this here? It is staggering. Hi, welcome, welcome in. So the question is, how did I close this off? Which one of the things is, everybody talks about these like crazy retopology tools and like, oh, you can automatically fill in like six faces at a time. Which I don't feel is like a tremendous benefit because you can already do so many of those things just in the base functions of Blender. So anytime you have a edge selected, such as this edge right here. So I've got these 2 points. I've got this one, and then I've got this one down here. Anytime you have an edge selected, if those edges continue on along some kind of line, you can select them and press F as in frog, and just flip around just like that. It'll fill them in. Let me give you a sort of a better example. Let me circle. Oh, whoops. Anyway, do. Or actually, let me do it this way. Yeah. Oh, you know what? It's going to be a jerky jerk. This is way too complicated for this example, but that's fine. So yeah, so I have this. And we'll do uh, dissolve vertices. So yeah, so I can select just this one face and go, and it will just fill around. You just hold the F key, and it'll fill in the entire role. Yeah, so you'll see me just popping back and forth between different kind of selections, between selecting like points, edges, and faces, because you could just fill in stuff instantly. Anyway, yeah, this is still for the dodgeball game. I need two kind of characters here, just two kind of. I really didn't want to call them placeholder characters, but I need two characters to start off, and so we're making first our humanoid one, and then our little stand-in ghosty character here. So this will be, and we can sculpt all of this and do all sorts of stuff with it later. So this doesn't need to be one way or another at the moment. Here I've got how many vertices? 9. Um, this is another example of, so like you'll see me do this a lot for modeling is here I've got, and I'll just keep count as I move along, is I want to add in one more kind of arch here. So just in rough 3D space is I'll go click, which is to match up with this row, over again to match up here, over again to match up here. And it doesn't quite work for, or, well, it should if I fill in that. So I just sort of kept count and kept match as I went along. And now I should be able to just select this and then fill in that whole set of faces like that, which is pretty cool. And now we're much closer to an amount I want in this little area here. Which the next thing that I can do is, why did I do this? There's a thing I did here and I don't know why I did it. Yeah, we'll just go with that. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up and out, and I'll pull this guy in like this. This is the same thing as if you had selected all of these and extruded them and then scaled them down. But in this particular case, I know that because I have the mirror modifier on, that won't work quite the way I want it to if I do it that way. So we're doing it this way instead. Boom. And then we can bring that up, scale it along its z-axis, turn it something like this. And now we've got the beginnings of our neck going on here. Perfect. And again, this is all just simple blocking. We're not trying to make anything super complex at the moment here. Just enough that it works and has good topology. And would deform well if we were to shove a skeleton inside of it, because that's exactly what we're going to do. Okay. And then how many do I have going around here? Too many, but that's fine. Doop, 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 doop. Um, doop that. Now, as a fun note about just topology in general, and poly modeling like this is you'll always see things like people putting in just the arm would be a much better example. You know what? Let's work a little bit more on the arm because it will make a much better example. So I know that only out to about here is going to be where my elbow is going to come out to. I'm going to sort of rearrange those just a little bit so that they're a little bit less extreme. Move that up, and let me actually get rid of those, and then, right? So this is where the elbow is. So this happens a lot when people are modeling is that they'll be like, okay, I understand that there's like a resolution to the model, that there's a certain amount of detail that needs to be in the model. So what I'll do is I'll make sure to put as many edges around and in this thing as possible, which first of all isn't good because now our detail is only going in one direction, right? So we have like a lot of detail going laterally like this, but no detail going up the arm. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is you also just don't need it, right? Is textures are so cool and they do so much and you can do so much with textures. The adding in all that extra detail a lot of the time is just memory that you don't need. And on things this simple, it's easy to think like, oh well, that you know, who cares about like 6 polygons here and there, but it does add up. And then we'll do this. This is a little bit bigger. This down to here is a little bit smaller, and that should be 8 vertices. And now we've got our hilariously stubby arm, which has got some problems, but that's okay. We can, all things that we can fix. That is frightful. And if I want to get really complex, which I don't really want to, but we can do a whole bunch of stuff with the elbow and whatnot. These vertices in here need to be like a little bit higher up, as do these guys. Something like that. And then, because I was sort of modeling this straight out, I think what I'll do, and again, this is just another thing that's so cool about Blender that is not in other programs. So let me undo. I'm so sorry. Let me undo all of that and let's see if I can go. Let me see if I can even go back far enough to our frightful arm. So because of the angle that I was pulling things out, the arms are now like stick figured out to the side, which is not good. And I need all of it to kind of like sort of move forward because that's generally how the resting sort of position of our arms work. Um, and if you were doing like a modeling like this in Maya or just a whole bunch of other things, you're kind of in a sticky situation because you are stuck with the modeling tools that you have, right? Which in this case is like poly by poly, you would have to move all these around like I was attempting to do like an idiot just a second ago. But we've got sculpting in Blender, so I can just pop over to sculpting mode, and now all of my sculpting tools are available to use on the thing that I'm working on. I just so happen to know that there's a sculpting tool here that I could get a lot of use out of, which is called the pose tool. And basically, what it does is I can put it down here towards the very tip, and I'm going to make it as large so that this outer ring here extends up to where I want a bend of some kind to happen. So that might be a bit far. Make it a little bit smaller. Oh, whoops, a little bit smaller. Um, it doesn't like me, or maybe it does. I'm just going to go with it. Um, no, it doesn't like me, and I don't fully know why. It's reaching so far. Here, I'll just make it tiny. Screw it. Did they change how this worked or something? It's not doing what I feel it is supposed to be doing. So this really cool thing that I was going to show you about how why Blender is great and why everyone should use it and why it's an awesome program, it just isn't working very well. So, it do be like that sometimes. We'll just take the whole thing and scooch it over. That'll that'll be fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. See how incredible it is that it doesn't work? Anyway, now our arms are at least coming slightly more outside the front here. And I can also show off something that I was talking about with like poles and stuff like that, is making sure that you always have an offset by at least one, right? So there's more detail than I would normally like there to be in the shoulders right now, in making something like this. And part of that detail is just that, like, it's necessary, right? Because I know that I've got to have this sort of point way up at the top where the neck starts coming out. And I don't want that to all be on the same line of vertices as where the arms need to come out. And I don't want that to be on the same line of vertices as where some other thing comes out. So you want to try and stagger things by as generally as much as possible. And that's sort of the point here, is that here at this point where the neck is like has its first edge loop forming, there's one ring or a one ring like spacer around the body before we go towards the next thing, which is the arms and how they're going to have to work. And then that has a like ring that separates it from the arms, and that has a ring that separates it from the lower torso. So there's always at least one set of vertices space between things. So that's valuable information for someone, hopefully. And we'll bring a lot of this in so it's a little bit less. All right, perfect. Perfect enough, anyway. So we'll bring this out, bring this guy up, start working on the hips here. For the hips, I'm going to do something a little bit tricky here, which is I'm going to start crafting kind of the chest and abdomen. And the way to do that is that I don't have enough topology in the chest here in order to start that process. There just isn't enough detail. And I could start pulling this down, but I need a loop that goes, so there's a central line of symmetry across the entire body. And in order to continue that line of symmetry, that means that these two faces right here are going to have to connect to these two faces right here as they go through the crotch, right? And the issue is that these faces are so huge that if I run them through the crotch in order to go all the way around and up the back there, this person's going to have a very wide stance. So we need more detail. So this is just a nifty little trick, because I'm going to take something called the knife tool, and I'll need to do it on the front and back. But I'm just going to pull in, I'm going to pull to the middle, I'm going to do some cuts like this. And I realize that I only have half of it. That's why you only see half of it, is because of the mirror modifier. So we'll just do from here, up, and over. And then we'll say yes. Call that a day. This face is now kind of an illegal face. It's got more than 4 or 3 sides, 3 or 4 sides. So if I delete it and get rid of only the face, what I can do is I can bridge this up here. I can bridge this across right here. And then I'll just select everything real quick, emerge by distance, and make sure that I have no extra vertices. So now you can see I've actually got more vertices to work with down here lower in the body, which is super duper cool. If I wanted to, and if I were really, really keen to, there's a lot of ways you could start to use this technique to start to craft like abs and deltoids and all sorts of extra muscle features that we're not really going to do. But for this case, I need it in order to wrap around the rest of the body. Since I know that this is going to create a loop by doing this, right? It's creating this, what's going to be the edge of our abdominals. What I'm going to have it do in the back is specifically go up and do the, I don't even know how you'd call it. It's as your erector muscles go up the back, where they start to like, where your erector muscles feed into your trapezius, which is right around this area. And then that creates your shoulder blades on either side. Basically, all I am saying is I'm going to have the loop go all the way up to here, which is several degrees higher than the front loop, but that's okay. As long as you know where your loops are going, it doesn't matter quite how offset they are in this sense, right? So it doesn't matter that one's way higher than the other one because I am still in control of my geometry. So we'll get rid of those faces there and then fill that in and then fill that in. And that'll allow us to have some back definition later. So we've got that, and then these 2 points will connect down as we start to move down here. So, my goodness, Blender, chill out. I will, for the moment, hide the arms because it's just visual information that's not helping anything. Perfect. Um, so we'll do like this. This, I will bring down a few more parts here. So I'll probably do 1, 2, 3, and then have that connect up in the back like this. Perfect. And now we've got, just like how we did the arms, where our arms, the arms and the legs are like really similar, except they just round off in different areas, right? But they both need to attach in the same way, which is this weird, awkward kind of inverted this shape needs to connect to this shape, like a Ken doll. Okay. Which to do so, words are failing me this evening. That's okay. Words fail me most of the time anyway. Um, this is another example of a point where you're going to have a sort of unavoidable set of poles, right? Is that I know just because these are meeting at a right angle and I need it to come out at an angle, that this is going to have to be a pole. The question is what degree of like wrapping around the body does stuff still do? And I think here the way we'll do this is basically I need to figure out where these faces are going, right? Um, and I think if I have them go in such a way that they also run through the groin, that will be too detailed for what I want this model to be. So instead, I'm going to flare them out in kind of a wild way, which hopefully looks okay. We'll certainly find out in a moment whether or not this is a good choice or a terrible choice. So here in the front, I've got this this pole. I need to have this something similar happening in the back. So we'll do whoops, like such, and then this will come over like such. This needs to be just much further out though, because we've got a butt that we need to worry about. And then from there, this will have to extend around. So I'm going to do that thing I showed off just a minute ago, where I pull all of these guys out, and then I can go click, 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 and seal that off. And then it's this bit here that's either going to go horribly wrong or exactly as intended. Will probably require sculpting. So I'm going to use another pole, except instead of being a 5 pole, which is what this is because it has 5 faces attached to it, so I'm going to use a 3 pole, which is going to be this vertex right here. And what a 3 pole does is one kind of creates more branches to your geometry flow, and the other one creates fewer. So by doing it this way, I know I'm ultimately reducing the topology as I go along, which in this case is what I want to happen. Perfect. So now we've got these kind of like weird love handle things going on. But what those are going to give me the geometry for later is hips, your hip bones. Um, and all this coming on. So this is coming along decently so far. Some of that will need to come up and be brought around, but that's fine. And I might also extend this up a little bit more, or maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Um, just like that. And then we'll pull out these faces just a little bit more to create that definition of the shoulder blades. And then pull that in, and this out. We'll go in and we'll sculpt it later. It'll be fine. But now we've got this, and these are going to be loops which go around, like they go around essentially the as high up the leg as possible. This is going to be the loop that starts going around. So ultimately, it'll be that this number of vertices is what I'm going to need to narrow down to 8. Pardon me. So we'll bring that down, and then this comes out, and then that is set like that. Which I think, with the number of vertices we have so far, is it's already at 8, which is good. The thing is that things are starting to get really, really blocky in this area. And so I need to add in more edge loops, but I'm already at the target number of vertices that I'm trying to sort of maintain. So that's unfortunate, but because I need more geometry, it means that I have room, since I'm already where I need to be, to add in more detail as long as I know that I'm about to take it out as I move further down. So I'm going to add in 2 edge loops, one right here to help with this stuff, and then another right here. I don't fully know where my other loop is going to go just yet, but that is something that I can figure out as I go along. So if I pull this whole thing down, um, it's a little weird in the back there, but ha, I didn't even mean to make that joke. Um, this is a bit problematic. This area is not great, but I'll worry about it. For future Destry, problem for future Destry as always. Perfect, so we'll angle that just a little bit, and we'll bring this down all the way to here. This will be our knee. And I'll show you how we're going to do that in just a moment. This is here. Boom, boom, boom. Perfect. And now we look like a deer. Awesome. Cool. So for the knee, what we're going to do is you can make a really, really, really awesome bendy joint out of any time you have or a ring of 8 around. Oh, shoot. I totally forgot that I already messed up. Because that was the whole point, is that I can't have this many vertices. I've already screwed up. Do. Right. Okay, no. That thing, I'm in my head like, oh, I need to fix that. I need to fix it now. um, is apparently where we're at. So, how do I choose to do so? Think what I'm going to do. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of those for now, and then we'll worry about. We actually will worry about it later, which is not good, but it's fine. It's fine. So now this should have 8. Make the thigh a lot thicker. Yeah, we'll worry about it later, and we'll just take those vertices out for now. So here I've got the top of my knee, the bottom of my knee, and I'll show you the colbindi joint in just a moment. This, this, and this. Perfect. Still kind of look like a deer. So for knees, you can do this super cool thing. Let me and I like whenever you have collapsible faces, anytime you can have a collapsible face in your geometry, that's super cool. What we'll do is we can essentially is I'll take this, I'm going to delete just this edge for now. I lied. Um, no, I'm going to put in one more edge. There we go. So the way this is going to work is as follows. I'm going to take all of these, extrude them, and then scale them in, which sort of creates this sort of situation. And what I can do is, as this sort of wraps around the knee here, it's at probably right here that I'm going to take this specific face and I'm going to, or this specific edge, and I'm going to get rid of it. And then I'm going to use a bunch of triangles. And when you're learning to model, everyone's always like, no, triangles, they're the work of the devil. Don't use triangles. But triangles are super awesome. It's just knowing how to use them correctly. So what I did here was I had a set of 4 faces on the front, extrude and scale down. Super awesome. Then I went through and on the rest of my sort of journey around, I cut out the 2 faces just on either side of this, as you can see, and then got rid of the edge that was dividing here. And what I can do with that is just real simple, is I'm going to do from here to here, I'm going to make a face. I'm going to do from here to here and make a face, and I'm going to do from here to here and make a face. And what that does is so first of all, I don't have any 6 poles. These are all 5 poles. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are all 5 poles all the way around by doing it this way. And the other thing is that when the knee bends, these back faces here will behave really, really nicely in that they'll just sort of collapse. So if you had extra geometry in there, such as like an edge loop, the thing is it would try to maintain that and then it would deform in like a weird sort of curling way. And this eliminates that. So this is a very, very simple knee thing, or any sort of bendable joint that you need, that you can do pretty much anywhere. It's super awesome. So this is going to be our knee for now. We'll take this, move this forward, take this and this, scale this down. And now we're going to go into using I unplugged that tablet, and that doing so was probably not the smartest decision I've ever made. Let me bring this back down. Forward. And now we're going to do just a little bit of sculpting. So because all of the like shapes and topology is more or less doing the things it needs to do, I can worry pretty exclusively on shape without having to worry and saying like I know already that it is the form that I need it to be in. I'm just worried about the shape. So that's fun and useful. Take this down just a little bit, like 0.5. Perfect. So let's start messing around with some of these shapes. This all needs to come out just a little bit. That smoothing needs to come way down. Smoothing is proportionate to however many vertices need to be like sort of smoothed all at the same time. And so if you're we'll do like point 0.1, yeah, that works just fine. If you're making a really low resolution model like this and you don't have enough vertices, it's going to go very strangely when you try to smooth. Um, just getting the shapes and all the big masses where they need to go or where they're supposed to go, more or less. Do do do. We'll work on the side and we'll just flip back and forth between sculpting and not sculpting and front view and side view, and we'll sort of get everything just where it needs to go, more or less. Boop, 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 boop. That's correct. Oh no, my mirror modifier. We can worry about it later. Yeah, I definitely need to do something about what's going on up here because it's not at all what it needs to be. And I'm not super certain what it is I'm gonna do, but we will figure it out. Forward. That's supposed to be the center point. Whoops. And I'll need to realign that center, which is fine. But oh wait, did my modifier go away? Why did my modifier go away? I didn't even notice that happen. Crazy. Uh, A grab X. I hate it. I hate the new system. Down with the new system. So pull all of that in, pull all of it back together. Shoot. Oh my goodness. Let me go in and fix this. Ugh, 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 ugh. Rude. Rude, rude, rude. And I think I'm gonna hide that grease pencil for just a moment. So yeah, this is not working. So I will need to fix this in some fashion. Um, I really don't want. I thought this was a good idea. This might be a terrible idea. This might be what's causing a bunch of problems in my. Got some thunder thighs going on right there. We'll take all of this and we'll just scooch it all back. Yeah, okay. So I need to do something about this because this is not doing great. Knockout City. Oh, you were telling me about. I totally forgot about Knockout City. Someone was asking about talking dodgeball and saying, "Have I played Knockout City?" And I have not. I totally forgot that. I should though. I'll do it after the stream this evening. Which I assume that most of the people who are in here now weren't here at the like in the first 10 seconds when I started streaming. But for the new year, we're going to try kind of a different format. And the format is streaming for shorter periods of time more often. So, uh, more towards the evenings. Still going to say good morning, though. But more towards the evenings. And what we'll do is I'm going to be streaming for 2 hours. And then trying to do that every weekday will be the plan. I still need to make sure that this is separated in here. So, what do we do about what's going on up in here? Um, let's brainstorm this a little bit. Will that reach? Yeah, perfect. So I don't have to unplug it. So the issue, I think, or some of the issues rather, is do 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 do. I'm thinking about doing something I don't do very often, which is normally whenever I model this area of the body, I try to avoid a very specific triangle, and I just think I'm not going to avoid it today because I'm not in the mood to make this the most perfect model that has ever existed. So I'm going to delete this set of faces. I'm going to delete this face, and I'm going to delete this face. They are the problem children. I'm just going to use a triangle. No sense in spending hours upon hours upon hours trying to problem solve something that has a very simple solution. And by doing that, it moves the pole that I'm working with over one more space. So now the pole is going to be here as it comes down. And let me see how many vertices that is. And that's 8 vertices. Yeah. There's no reason to make it as complicated as I was trying to, but that is a very Destry thing in general, is just making it as complicated as possible. So yeah, so we still have the topology up here. This is a little weird and wonky, but it's fine. I'm not too. He's still got a butt. It's a cute butt. We all appreciate it. It doesn't need to be more than that. I could even argue that some of the like curves are intentional. If I really wanted to, question is, do I really want to? There's another. You know what? I will do this specifically for the sake of showing off that it can be done, and like, hey, here's just a cool thing. So, where did I do this a second ago? So this is a technique very similar for making the knees. These knees which need a lot of work. But in the same sense, what we did was we essentially brought one line of faces all the way up to 4 lines of faces, right? So here at this juncture, it goes to 2 sets of faces, and then using that again and as part of a loop, we bring that all the way up to 4 sets of faces. That way we have a lot of detail in the knee, and then not a lot of detail in the whatever that muscle is called, because I can't remember. So we can do kind of an inverse thing here, which is I've got this area here, and one of the details about our butt that doesn't have any detail is there's just not like essentially a point where it cuts back under, and it would be nice if we had something like that. So what I can do, and what I'm going to do, is since it's one line of faces and it's not an edge, I can cut this up, and that's essentially just the plan here. So I'm going to take this face and I'm going to delete the whole face. And then I'm going to probably go from just one side straight over to the other and delete this face because we don't need the detail in the front. The front's fine. So I have, you can see here, with eights, and this is part of the reason why I like to work in eights, is everything is sort of divisible. There's always like left and right, front and back, and then dividing lines between those. So with this over here, I know that this on the other side is like my sort of adjacent thing. So I deleted the faces on either side of that. And then I'm going to add in an edge loop here. This is the thing that we can use to sort of sculpt our butt so that our butt looks nice and butt-like. We'll bring that in as well. So now we've got kind of a derriere over here. Boop. And then to sort of solve this issue, rather than put in another set of faces, which would be like a very common thing you'll see is you're like, oh, I encountered this space. What we're going to do instead is we're just going to do the exact same thing we did on the knee. So this will go up to here with a triangle. This will go from here to here. Whoops. From here to here with a triangle. And then that will go to a triangle. So this was one set of faces. And all I'm doing is just adding in a couple triangles in order to make it so that it can deform nicely and make the shapes that I needed to make. Perfect. So now we've got extra definition and extra vertices where we need them in order to create this and sell this illusion of a butt. Who knew that butts were so complicated? So I'm going to do just a little bit of messing around here in order to put things more kind of where they need to go. And in so doing, that should give me better control as I start going in and sculpting just a little bit more. So that can also be brought in, that can be brought down, that can be brought up. Perfect. Up, do. Square butt. Um, eh. It's not the smoothest work I've ever done, but that's fine. It doesn't need to be. And for the sake of an abdominal area, I am going to go through and I'm going to bring this up just one little bit higher here, because it's not currently working with where it's at. Do boop, boop, boop. Yes. Only faces, and then that goes over to there, that goes over to there, that goes to there. Perfect. Nope. Nope. Did I go up one too high? Did I go up one too many? I did go up one too many. I did go up one too many. I'm just a dumb butt. Shroop. Shroop. Nope. Nope. Mm. I know how to operate this program, I promise. Alrighty. Let's make this a little bit more in line with what it needs to be. So this comes up like such. Do. These all come forward by a lot, sort of making a more accurate patella, which is the name for your kneecap, if you did not know. This will come in, this will stay out, this will come in like that. Knee, up, over, knee, something like that. Come out a little bit, out. Um, and this is, funnily enough, a process I just find very relaxing. I've always enjoyed going through and doing things in this sort of fashion here. So this is actually a really great excuse to talk about something that I always love to talk about whenever I can, which is the value of games like Grim Fandango. is that in a world where we're always trying to push for like better graphics and more realistic graphics and all of those things, it sort of undermines the importance of just using large volumes to kind of talk about shape. So, for example, you've got a whole tendon looking thing. It comes up and sort of cuts in like this, right? Whoops. There we go. Um, and it's important and it's a really, really sort of integral part of what makes your knee and that area look the way it does, right? And the cool thing is that I don't need to spend like countless vertices making that thing. As long as I take this one vertex because it's such a low poly thing and I bring it up to like an appropriate height where you can understand, ah, yeah, this is what we're sort of like mimicking here is this interaction between how these forms wedge together. It'll look good. Like it's low poly, but it will look good still. And I laugh online because you'll always see people who's like, ah, I made this low poly character, and I was like, no, you made a bad character. Low poly does not mean that it is without quality. It just means that like there's not a lot of polygons in it. Um, and you can use a lot of those polygons to just sort of represent shapes. But it does require just like drawing or anything like that, like a very, very good sense of anatomy, um, good sense of shape and stuff. To do and this is another example of just that exact same thing, is that your Achilles tendon runs really high up, and then the two muscles that form your calf kind of like droop down either side. So by having this like lone vertex shift really, what is this? I have no idea where those came from. Um, Having this lone vertex sort of represent what your Achilles tendon does just can go a really long way for making a low poly version of this area of the leg look good. I'm just talking to fill the time. I don't know. There's another topic we talked about a while ago, which is just how I don't actually know how people talk and stream at the same time. Like I'm super good at focusing on just like one thing. Like I can focus on one thing and I can focus on that thing really well and I can get it done really well by focusing on it. But the second you're like, I need you to do two things at the same time, I'm like, it's just it's not in the cards for me, my friend. I my attention exists in a monochromatic state. I've had a couple bosses in the past really get irritated with me by telling them that, saying like I can't do more than one thing at a time. I can do one thing very well, very efficiently, but you're gonna have to give them to me one at a time because I just that's not how the brain works. Brain don't work that way. Technically, no one's brain works that way. Like it's not people who are like, I'm great at multi. No, you are not. Your brain cannot focus and give you its full attention to more than one thing at a time. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking I might need, unfortunately, one more loop in here. So I was trying really hard to avoid putting a loop down here. Um, because I didn't want to. I don't want to add in the extra geometry. But the issue is that it's sort of a similar situation to the butt that we were doing up here, is that because I've got this here and I'm trying to use that to define the bottom of the calves, I need something else down there to like extend the leg because there's just not enough detail if I don't do it that way. So I'm also realizing that I have my knee way, way back or my not my knee, my shin way, way back for like no good reason at all. So we'll bring all of that forward. Yeah. So we'll use that first loop to define the base of the calf and sort of everything it's got going on, um, sort of as such. And then below that, getting distracted. This was supposed to be like a quick thing that I was doing. Stories of Destry. Um, this line is my midpoint, so this is supposed to be kind of like the far extreme right angle, if you will, or like the innermost point of the leg. Boop. Perfect. So that's doing a lot better. This is doing up a lot better up here as well. That needs a little bit of work because it's a little wonky. Um, uh, Alrighty. Reveal that side again. This is one of the things you'll need to watch out for. If you're ever like sort of doing geometry like I am, is points where the face is. So I had just like a really deep cut in the silhouette of my shape, which there is supposed to be a deep cut in this area. It's just it wasn't happening where it needs to. You know what I mean? Um, One of the most important things whenever you're doing modeling is just making sure that your silhouette is consistent and doing what it needs to. So like if I look at a body and I see a body like this, I'm like, yeah, pretty much everything here is doing what it needs to. There's a little bit of funky stuff going on in like this area, but otherwise, everything is like correct. And you keep doing that and you like slowly rotate and move yourself around the model so that when you see things like this, you're like, oh, wait, hold on. I thought that looked correct, but maybe not so much. And I might even be able to add in. So I have this edge here that goes. Let me see if I can highlight it with any kind of degree of accuracy. Um, that goes all the way around like such. And with that, oh my goodness, that's so bright. That is so, so bright. Dear Lord. Okay. um, I've got this loop that sort of goes all the way around. It might be actually in my best interest to add in another loop around somewhere in this area just for detail. So I can add in more detail. Uh, but I don't know that I'm going to do that. Yeah. Yeah. Something like this. Oh, interesting. So I'm trying to use the inflate tool, and a lot of these tools are dependent on the normals of the faces. Oh, no, no, I see what's going on. I see what's going on. Never mind. Everything should still be good. I'm just doing it. Yeah, okay, perfect. Make some big sweeping adjustments. Bring all of that back just a little bit. All this forward just a little bit. Doop, doop, doop. Yeah. Unhide my arms. Oh, those we haven't worked on in a while. Oh, those are not looking as good as a lot of the other stuff is. We'll we'll address that. Sort of just making a kind of action figure at the moment. Yeah, so we got that there. We got that. Oh, here, let me. I am basically going to go in and do the same thing I did for the knee, for the elbow here. So I think I've got. I want this to continue doing its thing, so I'll add in one more edge loop up here, one more edge loop up here, and this actually is an easier way to see or to see an easier method of doing the same thing, just to see how it's done. So for demonstration purposes, I've got a thing where I need detail on one side and I don't need that detail on the other. Um, so rather than add in like a whole bunch of edge loops here to so that it can bend, because it won't bend well if I do it that way, I'm going to add in a couple edge loops and essentially make sure that I keep the detail on one side and delete it from the other. To do so, I've got this single ring of vertices going all the way around the model, which is where I want the bend to actually happening, to actually happen. And it's important that it's like a one axis bend, so like elbows, knees, that sort of thing. So I'll add in an edge loop up here and an edge loop up here, and that gives us this set of four faces on the back by doing so, which is great. That's what we want. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take those four faces and I'm going to extrude them, and then simply scale them down. And what that does is it creates an edge loop around this area. So it's a very small, short edge loop that now goes in a circle around this area where we want to have sort of a concentration of detail. And I can pull those faces out, and now I've got this like pronounced thing that's going to be your elbow, or the hook part of your elbow. Hook, the little bone thing. Anyway, going back around to the front then, though, I don't need this much detail, so I need to get rid of some of it. And because I want it to collapse, because this model is going to be animated, the way I'm going to do so is I'm going to go through and simply delete several of these edges like such, and just get rid of them. And then finally for here, I'm going to delete just, oh, no, 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 boop, boop. There we go. It's not deleting the things I want it to be deleting. Delete vertices? Yeah, there we go, there we go. So now where I've created this little edge loop here that goes in a small circle around the elbow, for that then, all I'm going to do is I'm going to just use triangles in order to reduce or increase the number of faces that I'm working with, depending on which direction you're going. So imagining that we're going in this direction, it's reducing the number. So here I'll take the edge, and then that face, edge here, face, and then combine those across the middle with another triangle, face, and then that gives us a nice, perfect way to go around. And again, because this is going to be animated, these parts right here, when they deform and they crunch, because they're crunching just along one axis, it's just going to collapse that face, and you won't even see it. It won't create A really, really good game that did elbows and knees really well, and I was so surprised. I remember seeing it and being like, "Wow, they did crazy good elbows." Was Destiny? Destiny had really, really, really good elbows. Anyway, this is kind of the thing you want to do. Boom, 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 boop. Perfect. And let's go back into sculpt mode, and I'm gonna grab my tablet again and do just a little bit of work in this area to make some of the shapes be more what they need to be. Pull that in. And you know what? Actually, before I do this, because if I hide things, does that persist in sculpt mode? It does. I don't think that used to be that way. I think that there was a point where if you changed modes, then things would unhide. Maybe it's always been that way and I'm just crazy. Okay. So, bring that in, bring all that in. We don't need arms that are quite this beefcakey. Uh, Bring that in. This. I will need to add in some extra stuff up here because I don't have just enough for a deltoid. It's a bit too blocky. And then I can take all of this and bring it back as well, just a bit. Oops. Bring that up. And then we'll do some manual positioning afterwards. Um, Taking, I believe, we'll take sort of just all of this and this as well. Nope, that one. And we'll just bring that in. So here, that doesn't need to be, oops, little much, little much. Nope. Yeah, 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 something like that. Yeah, we definitely need to do something about the shoulders because I think they need one more just sort of loop in that area. Um, and there's a really nifty way that we can do so. So that's probably what we'll do. And then it's looking like we're coming up on 2 hours and not too long here, about another 25 minutes or so. So we'll call it there for the day in just a moment. And I suppose next time we'll do the hands, feet, and head and call it there. For this, I do imagine that the little ghosty ghost is going to be a lot easier to do because he's a little. I'm going to make the most stereotypical floating blob ghost you can possibly imagine. Uh, Tone down these thighs a little bit. You know what might also help is if I shade smooth for just a moment here, as that tends to be more indicative of what you'll see in the game. Um, so a lot of this looks decent, pretty good. There's some weird artifacting going on over here, which I think I can fix just by doing that. Eh, yeah, not gonna worry about it too much. Again, this is supposed to be a placeholder thing, so we're just doing something real fast here. Um, all right, let's fix that shoulder, and then that'll be where we call it. Is right after fixing the shoulder. So I need to keep this edge loop um, going around. What I need is just a little bit more detail to work with in the top. But I also have to sort of deal with the fact that I've got a lot of poles in this area. There's a lot of poles. So I've got one here, I've got one here, I've got one here, I've got one here. No, sorry. No, I do. I have one there, I have one there. Um, there's another one here. Um, another one here. Those are both poles here. The point is that there's just a lot. So deconstructing this is a delicate matter. I think what I'm going to do is um, the neck right now is exactly how many vertices I want it to be. So I don't want to mess that up. So I think I need like a closed loop that is going to be just a circle. This feels very awkward, borderline wrong. But let's see how it looks. It certainly will give me the geometry I need. Um, maybe? I don't think that's bad. It's a little weird, a little atypical to do it like that, but yeah, sure. 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 Confidence. Absolute confidence. That's what this situation needs is total confidence that that is the correct thing to do. Um which I guess like it gives us a lot of options. It gives me the geometry I needed over here in order to make sort of that kind of shape, which that immediately like looks much closer to what it's supposed to. I don't really like this double bump here, but and you know what else too is this also lets me sort of bring in um, your right above your collarbone, like this area here where it's supposed to. So yeah, okay, this works fine. Um, very non-standard, not a way I would recommend this be done, but it's doing exactly the things it needs to do, and I guess that's all I really need from it. And it also lets me flatten out. The deltoid is a wildly flat and large muscle that creeps over your sort of whole shoulder region there. Um, and it's one of those things that, like, if it doesn't look right, it'll be really obvious that it doesn't look right. Maybe stuff is just too intense in here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wide hips. There we go. Yeah, there's complaints, there's critiques, there's a lot of stuff that's not ideal about this, but this works just fine. I'll take it. I will take it. Um, I will not take it. There's one more thing I'm gonna adjust. Um, and I don't know if I want to do it the same way I've done everything else so far, but I don't necessarily know that I have another choice to do it a different way. Which is that this in here is not how your neck works. And like I don't even need it to be particularly more complicated. I can just do like one vertex like that. But your neck does cut in a lot more than this guy's neck does. Um, so is there a way that I can make this work? What if oh, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. I don't know. Oh, maybe not, maybe not. I thought I had a, no, I do have a brilliant idea. Do I have a brilliant idea? I can't tell. I do not. I've got one too many vertices. The idea was that I was going to have that happen, um, which is great. But then this is not doing what it needs to. Conversely, I could run this all the way up the front of the body, which would actually give me some more space to work with than I intended. But then it also defeats the whole purpose of this thing I did. So, what do you do? Um, for now, triangle and call it a day. Just triangle and call it a day. That's another catchphrase we can use here. Triangle and then call it a day. Yeah. So there's a little body for our little guy. Um, Supremely displeased with my experiment down here, but it's fine. It works, kind of. Uh, I might fix that later. Not on stream. But yeah, I think we've got pretty much everything squared away for the body, and then yeah, just tomorrow we'll quick whip out the feet and hands. I might do the Monster Hunter hands. Not, I think modern Monster Hunter games have fingers, but old school Monster Hunter games had like the mittens, and it's amazing how articulate you can be with mittens. Like everything I do right now, for example, like several hand gestures, several different points I would make if I tried to say like you've got this, this, and this. All of that is just with my fingers together in mittens. So that a lot of the animation is what makes those sells that illusion. So we'll do mittens. We'll make a basic head, and then we'll sort of call it there. How on track am I for my drawing that I did? My weird little drawing. Not very, or unless here if I move everything forward, kind of. So yeah, it's about 15 minutes early today, but I think we'll call it there. And then tomorrow, hands, head, and feet, and then I want to plan like I always want to plan ahead, but I think for the new year, I also want to focus on just doing it one thing at a time. Just whatever the next step is, we'll do the next step. If I need to worry about like, oh my goodness, things have gotten so complicated and we're lost in the sauce, then we'll sit down and we'll have a planning session. But for the most part, I think we'll just do it one step at a time. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of the day then. I hope you all had a good New Year. I hope you all had a good holiday. I certainly tried to. Holidays are stressful, man. I don't know. I don't know how some people are all about the holidays, and I don't know how those people function. I am not. It is a crazy time. part of it too is that like there's a bunch of people. I feel like there's a bunch of like pressure for formality as well. As there's a bunch of people that you haven't seen in a long time. Everyone gets together, and you're like, "Hi, this is literally our yearly greeting. Cool. I'll see you in another year." Oh man. But I do have a leftover wine bottle, which I'll probably go have some of here because I got this, and it's just about the coolest thing in the world. It is a small bird that is a can opener, but on top of that, it is also a wine bottle opener, which is about the most amazing thing. Oh, and I found this out too. It's got the, let me see if I can get it here. Ah, I don't know if you can see that. Simple things, man. Simple things. Anyway, Happy New Year. That's what we'll be doing. Tomorrow is hands, head, and feet. I hope you all had a lovely holiday. Uh, get some rest, and I will see you guys in the morning here. So we'll see you later.